All right, hello. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is Relatives Who Are Fighting CPS. I'm on with my co-host, Georgette Truen. Hello, Georgette. How are you this evening?
Hello, Mr. Davis. How are you?
Good. And we have a very special guest tonight, Angel Kassim. Angel, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Angel, where are you located?
I live in Ohio.
Oh, I go to Cleveland, Ohio, maybe once or twice a year for a seminar that's held a couple times a year in Cleveland. Where are you in relationship to Cleveland?
I'm in Hamilton. I think it's like a couple of hours.
Okay. But if I were to go to your home, fly to your home, I would land in Cleveland?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, that's all right. All right, so Georgette tells me that you have an issue with CPS over there in Cleveland. What's going on?
Well, it's in Kentucky, and they have my grandchildren. They've had them since 2019, and I was never asked if I could take them.
Do they know about you?
Yes.
Well, where are the parents?
The father's in jail, and the mother is deceased.
I see. And who are you related to?
The mother.
Okay. Now, have you written any letters, sent any emails, contacted the social worker at all?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's one of the first things you should do, right?
Okay.
You should contact the social worker in writing and on the telephone to let them know that you're interested in having the children placed with you. When's the last time you saw the grandchildren?
By video call around Mother's Day last year, but in person was 2019.
How old are they?
5 and 6.
Okay. And do they remember Grandma Angel?
They did then. I don't know about now.
Do you know who they're living with right now?
I do know the foster people.
Okay. And how are they towards you?
I only talked to her. I talked to her one time, and it's when my daughter had done a Zoom meeting, and it was only for like a minute, so I don't really know them.
Okay. Has anybody told you that they might be interested in trying to adopt your grandchildren?
They have went through. We had gotten a lawyer, and he said they didn't contact them, that they went to court and they got custody of them.
But was your lawyer fighting for you to get custody?
No, he was fighting for my other daughter.
Oh, I see. And what happened with that?
We're still doing it. We're not sure what's going on.
Okay, do you have a paper and pen?
Yes.
So you actually live in Ohio, but the case is actually in Kentucky?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the first thing that I want you to do.
Okay.
Now, do you have a lawyer who's representing your interest right now?
No, I don't personally.
Okay, so this is what I want you to do. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to write a letter and an email to the
Okay.
social worker and call and introduce yourself and let them know that you want the children placed with you.
Okay.
Okay? Number two, I want you to file a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Department of Health and Human Services?
Yes, in Washington, D.C., DHHS.
Sorry.
Take your time.
Okay.
And I want you to contact the United States Justice Department Civil Rights Division and talk to them to see if you have any claim for your civil rights being violated and if they might do an investigation.
Okay.
Okay. The regulations, the federal regulations, as well as, almost all states that I've been, uh, or met people at or talked to attorneys about, the law is that these children be placed with relatives when and if they can. And the relatives don't have to live in the county or the state where the case is located. They don't even have to live in the United States. In Southern California, it's close to the country of Mexico, the Mexican border. And, there are a lot of children of Mexican descent that are sometimes sent back to Mexico through CPS in Mexico, right? It's called DIF. DIF, and I forget what it stands for, but it's basically CPS in Mexico. And there in California, there is an easy way to have children transported and placed with relatives or friends of the family in other counties, other states, and in other countries. Okay, and there's treaties between most countries for placement, and in your case, there is something called, there's an agreement, kind of like a treaty among states that children be placed with relatives in other states, and it's called the Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children, the ICPC. And I can tell you your state and also Kentucky are members of that Interstate Compact. And there's, social workers who deal with that, specifically deal with that. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to contact the ICPC office for Kentucky and the request placement, and the ICPC office for Ohio, as well as the county, CPS county social workers in Kentucky, to let them know that you need to speak to the ICPC division.
Okay.
Okay. Now, all of this is going to take a lot of time. I just want to warn you, Angel. And, you're going to be on the phone, you're going to be placed on hold, you're going to be transferred around. But don't be discouraged. You're making moves to get your grandchildren placed with you, as you should. It's just going to take, time and effort. You may think that social workers are going to do what you believe is just and proper, and that's not always true. So I don't want you to think that, I can just sit back and relax. Because if that state, Kentucky, is anything like California, if they don't place kids with relatives right away, what they're going to do is they're going to make moves to have the foster parents adopt the children. And if that happens, the parental rights are terminated, and then you're not even related to the child. You're no longer legally the grandmother, as bizarre as that sounds, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Now, Angel, did you have any questions for me?
You're telling me everything I need to do, and I wasn't sure if I could do anything.
What do you mean?
I didn't know that I had the rights to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, Georgette told me you had a very compelling story. Is it something you'd like to share with me right now in our audience?
Don't be shy, Angel. I know you told me you're camera shy, but it's okay.
Well, my daughter went down in Kentucky to get her life back together. While she was there, she was in a homeless shelter. And they recorded her in the bathroom with the girls. And my youngest granddaughter gets cold sores around her lips. So they accused her of burning her. And they went to the hospital, and the doctor, said it wasn't a burn. It was from a cold sore. But while she was at the hospital, they had her drug tested, and she had tested positive. But she was recovering, but it wasn't all out of her system. And we've been going back and forth with them for, like I said, for 2 years. And we just didn't know what to do. I've been searching the internet and everything for the last 2 years until I was lucky enough to find you.
Well, I'm kind of concerned because usually, when the kids are placed in the foster home for such a long period of time, sometimes it becomes difficult to get the children to the relative's home. And I'm hoping that hasn't happened in your case. Right?
I know they didn't call and ask me about the children. They called me and asked me about my daughter, but they didn't ask me about my grandchildren. And they didn't ask, as far as I know, they didn't ask anybody in the family about taking them.
Really? They're supposed to.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If they don't ask you, and it's something that you want, you have to take affirmative steps to make it happen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of people sit back and say, oh, the social worker is just going to do the right thing one day and I'll get the kids. That's not how it works. As a matter of fact, I've heard social workers, when asked by the judge, why didn't you place the children with the social worker? And their response is, well, the relative never told me that they wanted the child.
Okay.
So they kind of they put it back on you and blame you for not, taking affirmative steps, right, to get the child placed with you. So we're all about taking action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And going on the offensive in a nice way, right? But we have to get what we want, and that is getting our kids placed with our families, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, Angel, but I was raised by my grandparents.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons some people think that I'm so, involved in this area of the law, and that might be true. I went to law school to be a tax attorney. I was a certified public accountant before law school. Went to law school, took all the tax classes, and here I am, 35 years into this career, representing people in CPS cases, trying to bring families back together.
I know I don't really trust anybody in the county they're at because it's really small and everybody knows everybody. And my daughter went through a lot.
So did your daughter pass away after this case began or before?
Yes, after.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
I lost a son a few years ago.
Thank you.
Vincent, I have a question to ask real quick. Can social workers force siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents to become foster, to get licensed for foster care in order for them to have placement of the kids?
Force them? No.
Yes, force them. They tell them that they cannot have placement until they get licensed as foster parents.
Okay, so in California, the answer to that is no. Okay, so I want you to imagine a wall, and the wall has 4 or 5 doors, but behind each door are the children. Now, you don't have to go through all 5 doors to get to the children. You only need to go through one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways to get through the door is for the relative to become a foster parent. But there's other ways. Now, I think you and I were talking about this not too long ago. I get the feeling, and I'm not sure why, that social workers like to get relatives to become licensed through what they call the RFA process here in California. And they probably have certain things like that in Ohio and in Kentucky. But that's not the only way to get children placed with you. So one of the things that you can do, if you had a case here in California, let's say, Angel, you were in California and you wanted to hire me. One of the first things I would do was I would file what's called a 388 petition. And I'm sure Kentucky has something similar, which requests the judge to place the children with you. I'd also file what's called a relative de facto motion under a case called In re Charles S. A lot of people
sorry, what was it called?
I call it a relative de facto motion to give you standing in the case. There's a big thing in the law that, you have to have standing to even appear in the case. So a lot of people think that, you can only file a de facto motion in California, at least, if you were the current or prior caretaker. But there is a case in California called In re Charles S. that said if you're a relative of the kid and you never took care of the kid, but you have an interest in the kid, that you can be given de facto or some type of legal standing in the case to come to court, present evidence, and to inform the court of things that you may know. Now, in my mind, in California, and probably in most states, there's a law that actually says kids that are removed the social workers should try to place the kids with the foster parent. With the relatives or family friends.
Okay.
Relatives or family friends. And the relative or family friend can live anywhere in the world. Right? Because we have this ICPC agreement among the states to make this happen. And we have something called the Hague Convention, which is a U.S. international treaty where countries are supposed to work together to have children placed with relatives in those countries. And like I said, I live and practice mainly in Southern California, near the Mexican border. And, it happens all the time with Mexico's CPS. Right? Because, the Mexican government has an interest of getting children placed with relatives or to be with, their families in Mexico. But it's the same for all countries, presumably.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, can I ask the question?
Yeah.
Well, it's more I want to tell you something. The foster people had given my daughter money before, and they're the ones that brought her back up this way. And they said, they dropped her off, said, get your life back together, we'll give you the kids back. And then it was, they had her sign a paper saying that she was signing the oldest girl in the school, and that's not what it was. It ended up being her signing her rights over.
Did the mother sign them?
Yes.
Yep.
She thought she was signing the school paper for the oldest to get in school. And then they went into, the dad was in jail. They went into the jail, and the dad can't read and write. And they had him sign the paper, but he didn't know what he was signing either.
Now, are you saying that these kids have been adopted by the foster parents?
The judge gave them custody. I know that much.
Okay, but that's one thing. Custody is one thing. If they've been adopted by the foster parents, it's going to be very difficult for you to get these children, if not impossible. So that's one of the first things you're going to have to find out.
Okay.
And how do you find that out? That's a good question. You can ask the social worker, or you can ask the minor's attorney, or you can file all the paperwork that I mentioned, and
Yeah, I'm
they've
gonna
been
try that.
adopted. They've been adopted out. I'm sure one of the other attorneys or the judge will inform you of that.
Okay. Now, because we don't really know anything about them. We don't know anything since my youngest, that happened with my daughter. We don't know anything about the children.
See, and this is why I tell people to file those complaints with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
Because I think, in my mind, this is something they're going to be interested in
Mhm.
if the federal regulations mandate that they place children with relatives. And here are some social workers that are not even asking the relatives if they want the children placed with them. That's a problem, because that's not how our system is supposed to work. Does that make sense, Angel?
Yes.
Okay.
But Vincent, what if the social worker tells the grandmother or the aunt, you're not on the case, I'm not going to give you any information, even if the kids were adopted?
That could possibly happen, and that's why I told her that list of things to do.
Okay.
The filings, the court filings. Okay. And if she's granted some type of de facto status, what I call relative de facto status,
Mhm.
under In re Charles S., or a similar case in her state, or in Kentucky where this case is, she will soon find out whether the kids have been adopted or not.
Okay.
Okay. There's I won't say famous case, but there's a case out of out of San Francisco, where the city and county of San Francisco were sued because they didn't, investigate relative placement. And I don't know if they still do this, but I did a case in San Francisco a couple years ago. And before every hearing, or before the important hearings, they actually hired a third-party service to go out and find relatives and to interview them about whether they wanted to take the children into their custody. Now, from what I understand, San Francisco only does that, or did that, because of lawsuit issues. But I'm not sure other counties do it. And I have seen a couple counties in California do a little bit of that, but there's counties, like, I don't think Los Angeles County does it as a routine practice. And obviously, this case in Kentucky, they didn't do it with Angel.
Mhm.
Like, who's one of the first people you want to talk to? Oh, the maternal grandmother. And if they contacted the maternal grandmother to ask about the mother, why didn't they ask the maternal grandmother, hey, you can get these kids placed with you?
The only thing they asked me when they contacted me is, did you know that she had done drugs before? That's the only thing they asked me.
Yeah, they were gathering evidence to use against her, but when it came time to do something that might not be to their advantage, which was place these kids in Ohio, they didn't bring that up. And I would bet $1 that when you go to court, they're going to say, well, Judge, she's known about the case for 2 years and she's never asked us about placing the children with her.
Yeah.
Turning it around and making it your fault, Angel.
Mhm.
So for any relatives out there that are listening, or any parents who have relatives that want to have their children placed with relatives and family friends, all right, you need to go on the offensive and go to these social workers and write an email these social workers. Hey, I'd like to take care of the child. Investigate me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a conspiracy theory, that Kentucky social workers would not want the children to be placed in Ohio. And people say, well, why is that?
Money.
Well, the theory is that money federal money and dollars follows the children.
Mhm.
So if the children leave Kentucky and go to Ohio, guess who gets the federal money?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Mhm.
But it's a Kentucky case. We don't want to share any. We don't want to share any money with Ohio.
Mhm.
Okay.
We have our own bills to pay. So that's my conspiracy theory. People call me crazy.
I believe it.
I believe it too, Vince. I have a question, Vincent. If a grandmother or an aunt have uh, they smoked marijuana when they were in their 20s, that was 30, 50, 40 years ago, and they find out, CPS finds out, and they say, no, we can't leave the kids with you because you have a 30, 40-year record, right? That's fine.
No, I'm sorry. Continue. I've heard this story before, many times, many times. So what question were you going to ask me?
The question is, can they continue to hold that against the relatives? Because they keep holding this against one of the relatives. And she said, I was in my 20s. I was young. I was naive. I'm not like that anymore. Drug test me, give me a hair follicle test. They said no. But yet they want to hold that 30 or 40-year-old charge against her.
Can they? Yes. If she takes it to court, would she win? Probably. Okay, remember the golden rule. People don't remember this. This is really important what I'm about to tell you. If you go to a social worker and ask her something, or him,
Mhm.
like, I'm grandma, place the kids with me, and she tells you no, and or comes up with that, whatever reason to say no, if you don't do anything, that becomes the law of the case. But social workers don't make decisions. The ultimate decision in these cases is made by the judge, the person wearing the black robe.
But I have a question on that. I mean, I have something to say on that part. The judges go along with what the social workers are saying, Vincent.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Here's the thing. The things that I just told Angel to do, I'm going to assume Angel's an experienced lawyer, knows the substantive law, knows the evidentiary law, knows the procedural law, knows the court rules, knows the appellate cases in this area, and is able to file and present a case that would compel the judge to place the children with Angel, the maternal grandmother. Now compare that with two scenarios. First scenario, Angel never goes to court. She might think that the judge is in on it, and it's not true. The judge doesn't know anything about Angel. Only the social worker does, and the social worker is probably not going to tell the judge about Angel. Ever. And are they supposed to? Yes. Do they in every case? No. Okay, here's the second scenario. Angel fills out all the paperwork herself and represents herself. And assuming Angel's not, an experienced attorney in CPS cases,
Mhm.
Angel's probably going to lose. And then you're going to incorrectly tell me, oh, the judge goes with the social worker.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. The judge is going with the social worker because Angel didn't know how or didn't prove her case. See, what's really important, and I hope everybody in the audience understands this, you can't use what I will call lazy legal analysis
Mm-hmm.
as an explanation for what's happening to you and your family. Okay? Just because the judge goes with the social worker doesn't mean that the judge is going with the social worker because it's just the social worker. Usually what it means is Angel didn't cite the right law, didn't make the right request, didn't produce the right admissible evidence. And then, there was somebody on the show the other night, and I mentioned this, and I hate mentioning this, but it's the truth, and everybody should understand this. I first heard this concept when I was in the first year of law school. What was that, 38 years ago? And the law professor told us that one of the precepts, the foundations for the English system of common law, which our legal system is based on, is that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Wow.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Now, it took me years to accept that because it's so unfair. It's very harsh. What it basically means is if you don't have a lawyer, you're probably going to lose. But that's just the way the system is based. Now, I didn't develop the system. I'm just the messenger. So, Georgette, don't think these parents or these relatives can walk up into court and just say, hey, I'm grandma, give me the kids. Because in the majority of the cases, that's not going to work, especially where the social worker doesn't want the kids to be placed with grandma for whatever reason. Some social workers believe in their heart of hearts that the foster parents, in some cases, are better places than the grandma.
Yep.
They actually believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can talk about psychology, sociology, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, social workers have their own agenda. And guess what? Many times it's not the agenda you and I think is fair. Right? This isn't a case about what you think is fair. This is a case about what the judge thinks is fair. And if the social worker's against you, you better be able to prove a case that's compelling to get the child placed with you. Usually the only person that shows up in court with compelling evidence is the social worker. Mm-hmm. That's why social workers win most of the time. And people don't understand that. Well, it's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair. But it is the law. It is legal. I tell this story a lot, and I'm going to tell it to you guys. Many years ago, a guy came into my office on a Saturday morning, and he tells me, Mr. Davis, I got screwed in court, and I want custody of my child. I said, well, when did you go to court? Oh, I went yesterday. Yesterday? Why didn't you come and talk to me before you went to court? His response was, Mr. Davis, I thought the judge would do what was right. Now, at face value, that sounds legitimate. The problem is that he had no idea what right was in a court of law. Mm-hmm. See, most people think what right is what's in their heart and in their minds. And that's not true in a court of law. When you go into a courtroom, that's a false sense of reality. All right? It's governed by certain rules. So in this guy's case, he says to me, Mr. Davis, I had all the documents to give to the judge to show the judge that the mom was lying and the mom was a bad mother. And his documents were legitimate. The problem is they didn't meet the evidentiary standards for cases in California under the California Evidence Code. So I had to explain to him for about 90 minutes that concept. He left my office that day still thinking the judge was corrupt. And the judge wasn't corrupt. The judge did the right thing, in my opinion, under the law. What the problem was he didn't know the rules of the courtroom. Angel, do you watch any type of sports like baseball or football or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Well, in baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. You
Hmm.
heard that before, right?
Yeah.
How come it's not 4 strikes? How come it's not 5 strikes? How come it's not 2 strikes? You know why? Because the rule is 3 strikes.
Hmm.
We all know that rule, but you don't know the rules of evidence in your state.
Mm-mm.
And surely you don't know the rules of evidence in Kentucky.
No.
So how are you going to get something? You know, a lot of people just say, well, we want to help. We want to do something. You have to know the rules.
Yes, you do.
So look, I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, good or evil, anything like that. People hire me or consult with me to know how to win.
Hmm.
I tell people all the time, hey man, if you want me to help you be right, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to help you win, I can help you do that. Just from knowledge and experience inside the courtroom in these CPS cases. So, Terry Kerpa, watching on Facebook. Oh no, let me see. No, Hope Warner. Hope Warner. Hope Warner thinks I'm victim bashing. No
Wow.
hope. No hope. I'm not victim bashing. I'm trying to explain to you folks the hurdles you're going to have to jump over to win your kids back, to get your kids placed with grandmothers like Angel. I know it's tough. It's tough. It's hard because, you know, our senses of justice as regular people don't match up with the law. I want you to go to my YouTube channel, look up my video on what is justice. It's a 7-minute video. Look at it. You're going to be shocked because justice isn't what you think. It's not what you think.
Mm.
Okay? So, Angel,
Yes.
I've given you a list of things to do.
Hmm.
You don't need an attorney to do most of those things. Some of them you might need an attorney in Kentucky. Okay?
Okay.
So the next question is, how can I find an attorney in Kentucky? I'm in Ohio. You know, there used to be a saying, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages. But I don't think they're yellow pages anymore. So it's Google.
Hmm.
Search CPS attorneys, Kentucky. Call lawyer referral services in Kentucky. Find a CPS attorney that can help you. Okay?
And can they also call the Bar Association group, Vincent, and ask for an attorney in their county?
Yeah. So most big counties have what they call bar associations.
Mm-hmm.
So you could call the bar association in that county or in neighboring counties in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good way actually to find, you know, attorneys that practice in CPS in that area. You have a little extra challenge, Angel, because you're in Ohio, case and children are in Kentucky, and you got to find somebody in Kentucky that's going to be able to represent you, you know, either on the phone or through email or text or whatever, or through Zoom.
But he has to be or she has to be a juvenile dependency attorney, not family law, correct?
In my opinion, yes. Now there are some attorneys, you know, like we have in our office that do both family law and juvenile.
Right.
But you need to get a juvenile dependency or CPS defense attorney. You know, Angel and Georgette brings up a good point. if you have a heart problem,
Mhm.
are you going to go see a podiatrist?
No.
Why not? Right? You need to go see a cardiologist.
Yeah.
Same thing with lawyers. Same thing with lawyers.
Yeah.
Don't think a criminal attorney is going to automatically know about CPS stuff. They might do both, but you got to ask them. You got to make sure. Don't think a divorce or family law attorney is going to know CPS stuff. They might, but a lot of cases are referred to me from family law attorneys that don't do CPS stuff, and they tell me, Vince, I'll never walk into a CPS courtroom because it's such a difficult place to be.
Yes.
All right. So make sure you get the CPS and family law attorney.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me write that.
Okay. So I just called.
Question, Vincent, real quick. What can families do when the kids are adopted and say the aunt is trying to reverse the adoption, right? What steps do they have to take in order for them to proceed forward? Is there any chance for them at all to get the adoption reversed?
Well, that's an interesting question. And any chance? Yes, but that's the wrong question. The question you should be asking me is there a probability of getting the adoption reversed? And the answer to that is no.
No?
Right? I mean, I could walk outside the door tonight and I could get struck by lightning. But is that probably going to happen? No, there's not a cloud in the sky. It could happen. So if the child has already been adopted, the chances are that there's nothing that you're going to be able to do. That's why I tell people, hey, if you're a relative or family friend that wants this kid, you better come forward quick, fast, and in a hurry at the beginning of the case, because as the case moves along, your chances decrease over time. I'm just the messenger. I'm not, I didn't make this up. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, Georgette Truman?
If there's a family dispute, one of our callers were asking if there's a family dispute on Thanksgiving and it was a verbal dispute over dinner, and then one of the guests calls the police thinking it was actually a guest of a family member. It was just an invite. They call the police comes and they're eating dinner and they're like, no, we're just verbally discussing who's the better cook, something like that. So the police call CPS gets involved, removes the children because of that verbal dispute, right? So they go to court, they get the attorneys, they go to court, and they say that the attorneys did not say a word in their defense. And the social worker made up stories, and the judge believed the social worker and removed the kids into foster home. A verbal dispute like that, no prior criminal record, no drugs, nothing. It was just a verbal dispute without any evidence. And they just removed the children from relatives and from the parents into foster home. And then they forced the parents to sign their rights away because of that dispute. Now they exhausted their money hiring several attorneys. And they don't understand how can a judge not based on evidence, take the social worker's word, and they would not even allow the attorneys to represent the evidence in court because the judge said, I don't want to hear about it. And she made a ruling just based on what the social worker said in her report.
Well, the social worker's report by law is evidence in a CPS case.
Wow. Wow.
Georgia, that's why I tell you and I tell people all the time, we need to band together and vote, change laws.
Whew. This is horrible. This is horrible.
Because what you think is horrible is actually legal.
They have too much power. That's too much power, though. That's too much power to give somebody who lies in reports to get what they want. That's too much power, Vincent.
I would agree. You know, you can't even, it's very difficult to even sue a social worker because they have qualified immunity. And there's a YouTube video that I've seen on YouTube in several places. It's an oral argument in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals where Orange County's lawyers are arguing that even if a social worker lies in court, they should not be able to be sued. That they should get immunity. Now, Orange County's attorney went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and you know the Ninth Circuit videotapes all oral arguments, so you get to see it. She's trying to tell these three judges, you shouldn't be able to sue us. We should still have immunity even if we go to court and lie. She was almost laughed out of the courtroom, but this is what social workers are trying to do. Right? They are doing social engineering, not based upon the law, based upon their education or background and experiences as social workers. The law is something completely different. And people think, well, they marry each other and they fit together. No, they don't.
I have something else to say. Social workers, I would say about 90% of them can't even spell correctly, okay? They copy and paste other people's findings, right? They copy and paste it in the new reports, the victims, right? And then they put the wrong name in the report, the wrong date of birth, the wrong phone number, and they say, we called this person. We called this person. But then one of our callers said, but it's not even my name. It's not my child's name. But yet here I am in court fighting a case that doesn't even belong to me. So how can that even be accepted in court? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. How can a judge not see that?
You know, you're looking at these situations from the eyes of a civilian, of a mother who was also a CPS victim. And it's hard for me to say this to you, and I don't mean any disrespect, but you're not looking at this the right way to win. You can be outraged all you want. You know what that gets you? It gets you nothing. You need the law, you need the evidence, and you need the right legal arguments to make, to convince a judge to do what you believe is right. See, people stop their analysis at, and this is what I feel that you're doing, Georgette. You've decided what's right and wrong, and your analysis has stopped there. And that's the trap people fall into. Once you figure out that it's wrong from your point of view, how are you going to win in court? Well, you need law, you need evidence.
I agree. I do agree with that. You need the right attorney to represent you. I agree with that.
So how do you transform what your belief system is into winning in court. You know, a lot of people go to court and they just say, Judge, this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. This is wrong. Guess how strong a legal argument that is?
0. Yep. So it's
And
not,
then,
the court system is, yeah.
hold on. And then when they leave, they call the judge corrupt. When it wasn't a corrupt
I'm not going to
judge,
say it on live feed. I'll tell you later.
it's not the judge being corrupt. It's that you don't know what the law is.
Common sense, though.
I just
It doesn't
told you.
exist. I know.
I just told you courtrooms are a false sense of reality, a false reality. See,
Yeah.
you keep thinking that your sense of justice that's in your head and in your heart counts in the courtroom.
Mhm.
It doesn't. So we can sit here and bash these people, complain, but it's not going to do anything.
True.
You ain't going to win your case.
True. But I have another question, okay? I mean, actually, I have something else to share. A lot of our callers, they call attorneys everywhere in their state and county, and then they speak to them, and then they say the attorneys tell them, no, it's a CPS case, it's a conflict of interest, we don't want to help you. I had a caller today that called over 72 attorneys. 72 in her state. And each one of them said to her, we cannot help you because it's a CPS case. But yet they say they practice law, right? In the CPS field.
But see, you're not listening to what I said. I asked Angel if she had heart problems, would she go to a doctor called a podiatrist? They have medical license. They went to school for medicine. They're called doctor. Would you go to a foot doctor for your heart problem? So those 72 people were probably telling the truth. Hey, I do feet. I don't do cardiac, problems. Or, I do eyes. I don't do heart problems. Or I do brain surgery. I don't do heart surgery. They're all doctors. Why do you accept that, but don't accept the fact that a lawyer tells you, I don't do CPS cases?
No, they do CPS cases, some of them that they called, and they said that it's a conflict of interest. We cannot take your case.
It might
They're
be
asking me what the conflict of interest is. I said, I have no idea.
But see, you don't know. The area of conflict of interest, especially in California, it could probably be written in a book that thick. There could be many reasons why there's a conflict of interest. And by the way, let me tell you this. Legally, a conflict of interest is not what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has its own definitions in legal cases and laws and appellate cases.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to figure that out, you're not going to be able to figure it out.
Not me. They're asking me, and I really
can't answer that.
No, I can't answer.
You might as well ask who killed JFK? You don't know. Was it the CIA, the mafia, or a lone gunman?
I have an idea, but I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. They might as well ask you that. Because you don't know. I mean, people, unfortunately, people are always looking for answers. And they're asking questions. But you don't, and I don't, have the answers. I tell people this, and a lot of people get upset with me. I say, look, they tell me the story, and I say, look, what do you want me to do? And some of them get indignant and say, what do you mean, what do I want you to do? Well, you called me, what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to get the kid back. Got it. You got it. I can try to help you do that.
Yeah.
But I can't make sense out of the system. I can't tell you why some social workers are quote unquote unfair. I can't tell you why social workers are, maybe discriminating against you. I don't know. Social workers are like any other people in life. There's, in your life, Angel, in your life, are there people, family, friends, co-workers, people you've met that you disagree with?
Mm-hmm.
Right, of course. It's the same for all of us.
Yeah, but disagreement is different than stealing your children from you based on false allegations.
That's what you think.
Hmm.
It's all the same.
Wow.
I mean, I hate to break that to you.
Okay.
It's just like, it's just like 38 years ago when my law professor told me, ignorance of the law is no excuse. I mean, think about that
did.
for a minute. Think
Too
about
much
that.
twisting of the law, Vincent. There's too much going on. Too
Okay.
much power from all sides.
Okay, Georgia, I agree with you. Now what? What are you going to do? Nothing. You're not going to do nothing. Unless you pick up a gun and start a revolution, or you get a million
I want to
people
start
together,
a revolution, Vincent. I want to start a revolution.
or get a million people together signatures so you can vote people in and out of office and
Yep.
change laws, what are you going to do? So you can talk all this BS.
I'm going to vote for judges. That's what I'm going to do because I never used to vote for judges before.
Right.
And yeah, never. And
one of the main people complaining about the judicial system, and you've never voted for a judge in or out of office. Think about that for a second.
Yep.
And if you did that, what do you think about all the other people watching?
Yeah, you're right.
If each of the people watching this show right now went out and got 100,000 signatures to change some CPS law in their favor,
Yeah.
what do you think would happen? Well, things would happen. Things would change. But do you know how hard it is to get 100,000 signatures? How about 1 million signatures?
So far, I got 15,000 signatures. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So, I mean, what I'm telling you is complain all you want. Until you get ready to do something or gonna do something, this is just blah, 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 blah. It's just white noise.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see about that.
I want you to do something. I want to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, but first step is to vote for judges. That's the first step. Vote for judges. And don't just bypass it.
Okay.
That's what you say on your last show. You actually said that. Vote.
Vote. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I learned everything from you. So really, vote.
Would it be too personal to ask you when the last time you voted is?
Me or Angel?
You.
For judges?
For anybody, anything.
Last year.
Okay, great. You at least voted.
Yeah.
Great.
But not for judges. This year. I mean, I let it go. I didn't think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
until you mention it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But you know what? If you got 100,000 people together to vote the same way, guess what?
Victory?
Yeah.
Victory.
Change would happen.
Yeah, change will happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Change would happen.
Working on it, Vince. Working on it.
Okay, here's a comment from Rosalinda Castro. I started a Facebook group, Northern California area. Okay, Rosalinda, what's the name of the Facebook group? Georgette and maybe Angel and myself, we would like to look it up and perhaps join you.
Yes, Rosalanda.
There are a lot of CPS Facebook groups,
Mhm.
around Facebook. Lots. So, yeah, voting is important. Anyway, Angel,
Yes.
are there any other questions you'd like to ask me this evening?
Ask him about your daughter, Angel. You spoke to me about your daughter, right?
Um, yeah, my daughter's trying to go for custody.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
the child's maternal aunt.
Yes, maternal
Okay,
aunt.
okay, that's
And
good.
she was she went to court with my other daughter, and she asked the judge, she said, why can't family have them? And the judge said, yeah, why can't they? And since she's over here in Ohio, they had to contact Ohio.
Mhm.
And she said Ohio approved her and recommended her for custody, but that she still didn't get them.
Okay. Did she do anything on the list that I told you to do?
She tried to get a hold of the social worker, but she wouldn't return her calls.
But do you remember when I told you you have to do it in writing, Angel? And you
Mhm.
said you were going to tell her? I told you do it
Yeah.
in writing? Okay. You didn't tell her to do it in
Yeah,
writing?
I told her.
You didn't
I
know
told
what
her.
it says?
Yeah.
Okay.
Angel, I've given you about maybe 8 to 10 items to do.
I'm going to start this in the morning.
Yep.
So you know what, and here's the kicker, the bonus. The bonus is that you do it for yourself. You have your daughter do it for herself,
Okay.
and you get any other friends and relatives to do it for themselves. Then all of a sudden, you might have 100 people,
Mm-hmm.
200 people contacting the social worker and filing things with the judge, asking for these kids to be placed with friends or family. Now, when that happens, guess what judges are likely to do? Place the kids with friends or family. Because even they
Okay.
wake up and say, well, what's going on here?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
So,
gonna.
multiply the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, so Matthew Hank, and Matthew, I can't pronounce your last name, says, what are the 8 to 10 items to do? I missed them. Should I do them too? Well, Matthew, if you're a relative and you're trying to get placement of a child, you should do them too. And I'm going to put Angel on the spot.
Yes.
Angel, tell Matthew what I told you earlier. And Matthew, you
Did you
can
write
read.
it down, Angel?
I tried to keep up with you. I hope I did.
Oh, I'm hurt.
She's gonna watch the show again, Vincent, and she's
Okay.
gonna get it.
Matthew, so as you know, this is being shown on about 4 or 5 different Facebook pages and on my YouTube channel live. The beauty of that is you can go to one of those pages or that channel and watch the whole thing over and over and over and over forever.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get those 8 to 10 things, go ahead and rewatch this because apparently Angel was waiting for the replay as well.
I wrote some of it down. I just couldn't keep up with them all.
You could have said, hey, Vince, go slower.
Sure.
That's okay, Angel. I know you're still camera shy. I get it.
Angel, we're going to make you a star in Kentucky and in Ohio for helping relatives get children placed with them.
That's right.
We're laughing and everything, having a good time, but this is a very serious topic.
It is.
Very serious. The Supreme Court of the United States said many years ago that the family is the fabric of our society. Think about that. And think about what happens in these cases where they don't place kids with their families.
I've had some cousins that have been in foster care, and they've told me stories.
They're not very nice stories, are they?
No.
You know, I've mentioned this, a few times on different shows. Many years ago, I used to represent a lot of foster parents when they were accused of child abuse. And those cases aren't in the CPS system. They're in an administrative system here in California, at least, called a licensing system. The judges in CPS courts don't know anything about those cases. I would guess that they would be shocked to know the number of and the type of abuse foster parents are alleged to have committed against foster children. Probably about 20 years ago, I represented a foster mother who caused the death of a foster child.
Yep.
And that child was placed in foster care because the judge had ordered the child removed from its parents. Now, I'm not sure what the parents were alleged to have done or risk of doing, but you can't get any worse than, killing a child. Christina at TJ Anderson has posted a comment, https://save-our-kids.com. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm putting it up there for people to go see and click on it and check it out for themselves.
Vincent, when a child is 15 years old and the child is in a foster home, and CPS finds out that the child got pregnant by the foster parent.
What?
And the child ran away. I'm reading my one of our callers' text. The child ran away and found the mother, and she told the mother what happened. The mom got upset, called CPS, told CPS what happened. She was naive and called the police. CPS came, took the child, forced the child to get an abortion, right? And brush it under the rug, and told the mother that if she opens her mouth, that's in another state, by the way. If she opens her mouth, she's going to deal with the consequences. She's afraid to open her mouth, and her daughter is afraid to open her mouth. Yeah.
Georgette.
Yeah.
Stop for a second.
Uh-huh.
I want you to contact that person
Mm-hmm.
and make an appointment for me to talk to that parent tomorrow.
I am. Okay.
That's wrong on so many levels.
Yep.
And you know the sad thing about it? It happens more times than you would want to believe.
Yep. That's what makes me mad and angry at the system. That's why I'm passionate about it, because the kids are the ones that suffer. And the parents suffer. But they put children in a foster home that they're supposed to have some kind of background check on them, right? But oftentimes I get calls where they do a background check on the foster parents and they're sex offenders. How can you put a child with a previous sex offender when you take the child from their parents? How? And then do the judges know this? Like you said,
I don't know if they know it or not.
I don't know. But how?
I don't know.
How can a parent pay $500 for an investigation to check the foster home and it's a sex offender that lives there? But yet you put the child with them.
You're right.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone over our time for this evening. Angel, I want to thank you for being a guest. Hopefully you can come back on maybe in a week or 2 or 3 and tell us the results that you've gotten with the checklist that I proposed for relatives trying to get children placed in their homes.
Mhm.
Okay? Would you consider that, or at least think about that? I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure that our audience would appreciate it.
Yes, I would.
Georgette Truan, I want to thank you again for being the co-host this evening. A wonderful job as usual.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening this evening. I want to remind you that tomorrow on these same channels, we'll be doing our Fight CPS Civil Rights Show. So if you ever had the idea that you want to sue a social worker in a civil courtroom or in a federal courtroom, this would be a show that you would want to watch.
That's
Okay?
my favorite show, actually. Sue them.
All right. So again, we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Pacific. And thank you again for watching. Everyone have a nice evening. Good night.
Too. Good night.
Bye, Angel.
Bye. Thank you.